one of those evolutions that we're talking about.
It is. And sometimes very small things make a big improvement. This is now, once Killian and I have beat around all the designs and tried to improve everything, we're talking the whole time with Joel Aaron. And when I know I'm going to direct an episode, like the season finale, I'll be talking to Joel for several months ahead of time before we ever even get to the episode. Yeah, a lot. And one of the things I wanted to do, I told Joel, was we're going back to the planet Florum. I really didn't like the way Florum was executed the first time we went there, in the Gungan General and in Country Captured. So when we go back to that planet, it has to be better. And I would talk about, I want the surface of the planet to be more cracked, I want more detail. These organic environments in the Clone Wars, they have to get better. Standards have gone up in feature film a lot, they have to go up in our TV series. And these are some of the concept designs, the paintings that we did. Hondo's pirate lair, I wanted to be more like a big Sanford and Son set, where the logic was that he had been stealing or pirating all this gear because of the Clone War. There's more military hardware readily available than there ever has been. So we broke up models, cracked spaceships, put junk there, and basically made it look like a big universal backlot. And you can expand on that one.
Yeah, we took parts from gunships, barrels, anything that's put in there, just like they said. It had to look somewhat like a junkyard. Especially for the inside of Hondo's office. We really wanted to look a lot like Dave's office.
I thought it was to be a mess. I want Hondo to look like he has a whole bunch of crap in there. Go up to my office and take some pictures, because I have all these Hasbro. Right now, the big AT-AT sitting on my desk, and you did. And
you did really good. Due to constraints of like how much we had to render, we actually had to take stuff out of the office.
Yeah.
Make it look messy.
Slave One. This was of all the things that George will comment about when he comments about designing the show. He'll be very specific about certain things, and he and I argued, and you and I argued about the scale of about the scale of Slave One. How big is that ship? And the problem was that when you watch Boba Load the Carbonite in Slave One in Empire, it's actually a different scale than the one in Attack the Clones. Correct? Am I correct?
No,
I'm wrong.
No, you're correct.
Thank you.
What actually happened was that the miniature that George is probably most familiar with for Empire is way bigger than
In the cockpit.
Even in that map.
When you look in the archive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think for him that was the scale. He'd sort of set that as that's how big Slave One is, but for our story it needed to
But it's amazing how he sees them.
Yeah,
He was constantly honest about the scale of that ship.
Yeah.
And we went down to the archive. We can get the actual model out that they built.
Yeah,
And
we-
analyze it, look at it, and you see two different models. There's actually a different scale going on.
Yeah, and we actually looked at ILM's digital and Slave One as well for episode 2 because they had sort of had to work this stuff out before us as well.
But even then, the scale would keep changing. I mean, even for shots, you'd have to sometimes scale it down a little bit just to fit the composition, or scale it up depending on.
Well, yeah, but that's for fancy movies, Joe.
I know.
Took a while to learn. I couldn't. Joel's actually a 17-year veteran of Industrial Light and Magic, and now I have him on our television show, which is really exciting. But you know, in a movie, you can build specifically for the shot. In the Clone Wars, if we build Slave One has to work for whatever we're going to do with it in the future, because we won't have time to build another one. We don't have time to rescale it. So even the interior of Slave One, we had to figure out to some degree, which proved to be a lot more difficult than we thought with the reorientation of the cockpit. And it actually does rotate and move, but we just never shot it because it was so complex.
Yeah, Pat Presley actually worked out how the 3 seats on the lower level work. And even then, we still had stuff to do, like at the last minute, that sort of radar dish at the top became an airlock, because there needed to be an airlock in the show. But there's no airlock on Slave One, so we were sort of scratching our heads. Is there anywhere on the ship where you could put a circular door that kind of works? And that just turned out, it actually worked out really well. Yeah.
And red and
Thanks, Joe.
So, lighting concepts. Once the designs have been done, once the episode has been locked, I kind of shift into high gear and work with finding the frames throughout the episode. Basically finding the frames with Dave and the episode director of which best represents the sets that we're going to see throughout the episode, and what will allow us the best representation of the lighting and the mood and the feel. So the episode. So once all those are picked from our lock 3D story reel. We do everything with our own proprietary software to block the cameras, put the character blocking in, and we'll have individual frames of those. For anyone that's in computer graphics, it's just grayscale, and paint on top of that grayscale. And what you get is what you see here. Unfortunately, we're a little darker and you'll be able to see these, but we'll paint like where the light direction should be. And you'll be able to see when you start playing the actual episode here, how close the lighting concepts dictate exactly how the episode comes out, because we spend a lot of time scrutinizing the light direction for everything.
Because one of the biggest aspects of the Clone Wars that George wanted to push was, if you watch from Phantom Menace to Revenge of the Sith, George was actually experimenting greatly with lighting in the Star Wars series. By Revenge of the Sith, the lighting is actually way more aggressive than it was in the Phantom Menace. You see a lot more silhouettes, like when Palpatine's talking to Anakin when they're walking out of Palpatine's office, and they just become a silhouette, almost like Vader talking with the Emperor. So when he got to the Clone Wars, George wanted to continue that type of cinematic lighting in this television series. So it's one of the things he's pushed very hard for, Joel and I have had to figure out to make him happy with it.
We get real aggressive, and if you watch the last half of season 2, and then when you get into season 3, when you guys start watching it this fall, it's real dramatic. We're getting very heavy. There's specific direction for shadow, and it's no mistake that when you watch an episode, that the shadow and the shapes on the frame are going to directly point you to the next shot that's coming up. And I get into this rhythm, so by picking all those lighting concepts, I know where your eye's going to go, I know where the direction's going to go.
While we're on the subject of lighting, I just have to ask, is it possible to lower the lights here at all? It'd be great to see this and a little bit more clarity.
You could also point out that every painting that you're seeing is done by one of two people. It's either Chris Boy or Anthony Ermio, who do every single one of these for every episode of the show.
About 30 paintings per episode.
Yeah, they were doing more.
Here we go.
But the amount of work, I mean, these are little masterpieces. They were painting close to 50 to 60 cells per episode. And you can flip through it. Before I had a slide in here, you just go through every single one, and you can actually watch the episode like a comic book. Now we've kind of backed down on that so that Chris and Anthony can paint with just a little bit more detail. And they're just so good. We actually get a really good feeling for the episode based off of the lighting concepts. And by allowing them to put more detail in, allows our teams that are working on the shots to actually see the detail put in and then add that into the painting, then translates into the episode.
And then if you visit, if you're lucky enough to visit you guys' offices, you have these big boards of entire episodes broken down as lighting concepts, and it's fantastic because even if you don't know the story, you instantly get the feel of what you're about to see, and I think that's really what helps differentiate the Clone Wars from anything else on TV as far as animation goes.
Exactly what Paul was saying is that we keep those up, number one, to just inspire also the people walking by, the rest of the people on the show. They can actually see all the guys working on the assets or the design. They walk through and they can actually see the evolution of their assets and see how it's all coming together as one big episode. And stand back and watch it, and just all come together is amazing. This episode, Dave's episode, which will always reminded it was Dave's episode. It was the best, in my mind, is my favorite. Not that I have favorites, but it's like...
That's good of you.
It was good. I'll say that publicly. But we really spent a lot of time on the lighting concepts for this, and Dave has some episodes in season 3 that we really focused heavily on to make sure that the lighting concepts were getting you exactly what we wanted. And you can see here, it's like a lot of the shots are almost identical to the lighting concepts you see.
Excuse me, could you speak closer to the microphone?
Yes, I can. So, after whatever publications we have coming out that have the artwork, just take a look at some of the artwork from season 2 and compare it to the episodes that you watched in season 2.